That's right. And the news tonight is literally unchanged with what is going on with Dorian. Now, the current stats are that the winds are down a little bit, 130 miles an hour. I say down. I hate to use the word decreased or weakened. That, I think, is the worst word to use in this case because it's still Category 4, no movement on it. And in fact, our little stats box up here that we checked to see what it's doing, it had come down a little bit and then moved up a little bit, just a matter of 7 miles to the north or south, and it has moved just about 7 miles to the west. So it's basically just sitting here. I'll show you in a second. It's kind of wobbling in position. 100 miles now to the east of West Palm Beach. The storm hasn't really grown anymore in terms of its size. The intensity's come down, but the size is still about the same, 150 miles to the east and about 100 miles or so to the west. And the tropical storm force winds just skirting the Palm Beaches right now. Now, earlier in the week when we were watching, and over the weekend we were watching the new advisories, of course, it was all about the track, right? But the storm is so close to us that the track literally and almost always never changes a lot. A lot of stuff doesn't happen over the next 12 or 24 hours in big swings or something like that, and that again is the case tonight. So the motion is forecast to just nudge to the northwest by 8 a.m. tomorrow. So a long, horrible second night on Grand Bahama of hurricane force winds covering much of the island, and then by Tuesday evening starting to pull away. But remember, this is the cone track's where the center is supposed to be, and then after that it's Wednesday morning off of Daytona Beach or the Cape there, and then Thursday, or Wednesday evening rather, off of Jacksonville, and then Thursday it's on off to the northeast. But still there's some uncertainty that if the storm tracks on the left side of the cone there, it could bring hurricane force winds and more storm surge there. And there's the entire track all the way up into the Canadian Maritimes. Here are the latest computer models this evening, and pretty good agreement through 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. You don't see any models going west or south or anywhere toward us. They all very, very slowly take it to the north or northwest, and then you can see it's pretty close along the southeast U.S. coast. So folks here are still watching this very closely and looking for any shift in the models, just like we were doing several days ago, watching for that shift and kind of agonizing over its approach. So here's Dorian. This is a satellite loop over the last 24 hours. This time yesterday to this time today, there's a little pause there because we had a brief outage on the satellite images, but you can see the center has moved to the west right over the island, and then it kind of wobbled there to the north, but it's basically still just sitting there, may wobble around again, and then finally start to wobble its way to the north or northwest. It's showing up on the radar nicely tonight in terms of its location. You can see it clearly, but the eye is starting to lose a little bit of its, we call it integrity. The satellite presentation is not as clean as 11 hours ago. This was 11 hours ago, and once again to show that it is not moving. There's the radar loop, and it literally has stayed. The X has stayed in the eye, and the X is not moving at all, and that's the last 11 hours. That's the way we look tonight. So it is throwing off some of these strong rain bands, and in the strong rain bands, there are wind gusts into the 40 to 50 mile an hour range. Skirting the Palm Beaches right now up by West Palm Beach, could skirt northern Broward in the next hour or so, but rest of Broward and Miami-Dade looking good. And one band down here in the lower Keys with some vicious lightning down there, and that's kind of this big inflow feeder band, one of the primary feeder bands into Dorian there. You can see it. So computer models, and this is the thing, as Dorian moves away, we're going to see kind of unsettled conditions, gusty winds, downpours, things like that from time to time. But the tail of Dorian could also get us. We'll have to watch this, and this would be the flood thing. So here's the computer moisture, and you can see there's a lot of moisture there. But see this part down here where that line of thunderstorms by the Keys is? It slowly comes to the north. There's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so we'll just have to keep our eyes on that. That, in some cases, can produce some flooding downpours as the storm itself moves away. You're caught in the tail. Tonight through Tuesday night, passing gusty storms, street flooding, power outages still possible, especially farther north and east, and the weather begins to improve Wednesday.